Having done a video on hot environments, which I currently teach in Red and Green, I thought I'd do a video on cold environments, which I used to teach in my old school in Brightstow. So the key things about cold environments is they cover the world's biggest deserts. Okay, the two biggest deserts in the world are Antarctica and the Arctic, which means that they matter. They also matter because they, unlike hot deserts, they're shrinking. The key characteristics of these cold deserts is that they're extreme temperatures, cold temperatures in this case. So we're looking at about minus 50 degrees in the polar environments. Very little precipitations because they're deserts. So in some parts of Antarctica, it's never rained for millions of years. It's just that the snow's there because it's water that has frozen from the sea and has been moved around and blown around. It can be minus 20 degrees in the tundra in the winter. Okay. Precipitations in coastal regions of the tundra do exist, so you do have some life. And one of the examples of plants that has adapted to that environment is the bearberry. You've got a picture of it on the right-hand side. It grows 5 centimeters to 15 centimeters from the ground. It's tiny. It's about 1 millimeter of growth a year, pretty much. Bearberry's got hairy stems. It's got waxy leaves. It's got bright red berries to attract pollinators. But it's small, waxy, and hairy to avoid it being eaten by animals. It's trying to keep itself safe, in essence. Okay. The famous one is a polar bear. Polar bear's got white fur for camouflage. It's got wide paws to avoid it sinking in the snow. It's got a very thick fur to stay warm. It's a really strong swimmer. Okay, it's the famous case study you need to learn in cold environment. An example is Svalbard. Most schools do that. That's just one I did when I was in my old school. The key facts from Svalbard, number 300 is a great one because a lot of facts are linked to 300. So there's not many people in Svalbard to start with. It's part of Norway. It used to be called Spitsbergen Islands. It's also happens to be mentioned in Dark Materials on the BBC iPlayer at the minute. But it's got 300 people who are employed in the tourism industry. 300 people employed in the mining industry. It's got huge geothermal activity. It's got access to fish. There's 150 different fish in the Barents Sea, one of the most fertile seas in the world. It's got access to oil, minerals, and coal, etc. So it's got a lot of heavy industry. Reasons why people move to such an extreme environment. Okay. Temperatures do drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Makes construction really hard in the winter months due to lack of sunlight. It's also extremely cold, so it's any kind of manual work can be extremely challenging. Permafrost is also a massive threat because all the houses have been built on land that never thaws or never melts, but with climate change that land is thawing. It's causing infrastructure to break. Services, we've got those sewage pipes and water pipes have to be heated and have to be overground because it's frozen on the ground, and we don't want the sewage or the water to freeze. So have to heat the pipes. So it's really challenging to serve these remote areas. Accessibility, there's only a 50-kilometer road in Longyearbyen. This is only 50 kilometers of road, in Longyearbyen and Svalbard. The rest you have to move around in snow scooter. There's very limited roads. They disappear really quickly. There's also polar bears. You have to legally carry a gun around Svalbard because the polar bears roaming everywhere. One of the weird facts about Svalbard is technically illegal to die there because they can't. If they don't want to bury anyone in the cemetery, because you basically be frozen and the diseases would stay in your body. And they've found some example of anthrax and Spanish flu in the cemetery and in wildlife. And so, yeah, weirdly sort of illegal to die over there. Anyway, why should we protect cold environments? Well, the main one is because economic development has led to environmental damage. Off-road vehicles are damaging pristine. Think of the bearberry. You squash that with a Jeep or 4x4, it's going to ruin hundreds of years of growth. Overfishing has led to a reduction in the fish. Climate change is obviously causing the ice to melt. Oil spills has completely destroyed some parts. Think of the Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska. Okay, cold environments need protecting because you've got people there. They're called the Inuits in Lapland area. You've got a whole way of life that needs to be protected. Scientific research, accessing sediment cores allows us to understand the climate better. You've got some rare animals, you've got some jobs up to save as well. Okay, what they've done to try and save cold environments, there's been the Trans-Alaskan pipeline, which has been raised so that animals can move underneath it. It reduces the impact on wildlife. It can slide in the event of an earthquake. Okay, there's an Antarctic Treaty of 1958 that is signed by all countries that have a territorial claim to the Antarctica, and it recognizes that no one owns it, and there's actually no time zones in Antarctica. There's a Western Arctic Reserve, 9 million hectares of protected land, and WWF supports research of endangered species like the Greenland shark, the polar bear, etc. They're the main things that have happened to help protect this pristine and beautifully unique environments.